Recording. Hello, my name is Sean Sullivan. I'm your moderator for the May 31st version of the SIG CLI biweekly meeting. I'm going to jump directly into the announcements. We're right in the heart of the 128 version, or sorry, the 128 release. And so we have next week the production readiness review. And a week after that, so within 2 weeks, we have the enhancement freeze. And so we have a couple of KEPs that relate to the SIG CLI, and we're going to actually have a few words on those as we progress. And it's about, I think, 4 to 5 weeks after that, in July 18th, that we have the code freeze. And another month after that, as is typical for the release itself. So we're right in the thick of it right now. And there's a couple other announcements on the SIG CLI leadership. So congratulations to Eddie and Natasha, who have been elevated to positions, for Eddie as the tech lead and Natasha as a new chair. I'm stepping down as chair. Congratulations.
And thank you very much to Sean for all his work.
Cheers. It's been an honor working with you all, and I hope to continue working with you all. And so let's move on to the new members or attendees. And so if you are new to this meeting, or you haven't been here for a long time, and you would like to be introduced to your SIG CLI colleagues, this is your opportunity to say hi and to introduce yourself. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Just about everybody I see here, I recognize. Okay. If we don't have any introductions of new members, let's move on to the sub-project and KEP updates. The first is the transition from Speedy to WebSockets KEP. I'll say a few words on this. I've gotten a lot of good feedback. Thanks, Maciej, for the recent feedback. I'll be addressing that today. Just another quick note, I'm actually going on vacation a week from Friday, and so I'm going to try to get the KEP marked as implementable and submitted within a week and a half, which I think is pretty reasonable. There's actually been, I think, 4 or 5 people who've given really good feedback, and the only person that I think needs to give feedback who hasn't is David Eads. And so I'll scroll through a little bit of this, including this particular diagram, which describes fairly well at a high level what's going on. And what we hope to do is put in another proxy on the API server that's going to translate from WebSockets to Speedy. We actually have it implemented already in a proof of concept PR, and have some stress tests which have beat it up pretty good. So it looks pretty solid right now. All the end-to-end tests are working on that proof of concept PR. I'll move on. Does anybody have any questions about that before I go on to Arda's?
I think that the most important part about the KEP is I don't expect us to be able to solve all the issues that will come up from actual implementation of the feature. So I would, like you said, try to get as good as possible of the KEP itself, and then we will be iterating over it. I would expect at least one more alpha, especially that we have all those additional legs, which also will require the transition to WebSockets. And based on what Joe is saying, it looks like we'll probably tackle those as separate KEPs We just need to make sure that this is clearly pointed out in this proposal, and then that there are links to those separate caps. And then this way we would be able to focus entirely on the client to API server communication part. I think Joe also pointed out the port forward as being left out. I would, and again, it would be good to call it out immediately, and then point it out that this will be resolved during the second or third alpha. It doesn't matter how long it'll take us to get there. But at least before we do a final GA of this functionality, we need to make sure that we have all of them migrated to the new protocol. But other than that, I think that there are a couple of holes, but you're probably aware because you put the unresolved in a couple of them. But you said you're gonna be addressing all of those later today. So yeah, just try to get it in an implementable state, and we will be iterating on that. We've seen in the past a couple of people already tried it and did not succeed it, which I'm expecting it'll just take a sufficient amount of time and at least a couple alpha, maybe a couple betas before we will do the final GA.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that feedback. And yeah, just to continue on the port forward. So there's the KEP and the proof of concept PR are for the remote command sub protocol and not the port forward sub protocol. And we did that on purpose because we just needed to get the scope small enough that we could make some progress, because this has been going on for 8 years. And actually Clayton had tried getting port forward onto WebSockets back in 2017, and he realized that it was much bigger than what he had initially imagined. And so instead of trying to do too much and not getting anything done, we figured let's try to just get 3 of these 4 commands done, where they're going to be just for one leg from the client, from kube control to the API server, we'll be using WebSockets. And that gives us 95, 99% of what we need, because what we're trying to do is solve the proxies or gateways or any intermediary that doesn't speak Speedy, and they don't, none of them do anymore because it's been deprecated for 8 years. We're going to move it to WebSockets, which would, basically allow any of these particular intermediaries to use a modern streaming protocol, and we get, like I said, 95% of what we need. And then it will continue to be a speedy from the API server down to the kubelet and down to the container runtime. And what that gives us is that we don't have to actually change multiple runtimes because the servers are on these runtimes. And so this actually has massively scoped this down to something that is achievable with, for us, these 3 commands from kube control to the API server. So, okay, so that's, yeah, thanks for that feedback. And as I said, I'll be getting to that today and throughout probably the next couple of days to make sure that, it's in good shape for this upcoming alpha marked as implementable. And so there's also, Arda is doing an enhancement, and I have it here. And Arda, would you like to talk about this particular cap?
Yes. Hi. This one is relatively small cap comparing to the WebSocket migration, but I put it in the agenda just for raising the awareness. We are adding a new flag for interactivity in delete, and I suppose it is requested widely. And yeah, feel free review and drop your comments.
Cool. Does anybody have any feedback for Ardo while we're on the call? Okay, so we can move on to the open discussion. And that includes Adil. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, it's correct.
Okay. We're adding more callbacks. This is a PR in the kube drain helper.
Yes. So we agree, I think it was agreed to review in the last meeting. No, in the meeting before that. But it still needs a review. Kindly review it. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of drain issues. Is Eddie here? I remember he was involved in at least a few of them. Eddie, do you have anything to mention about drain in this PR?
No, it's still, sorry, I just put food in my mouth. It's still on my list.
Sorry. Okay, great. Okay. So can we move on to Leonid's question?
Yeah, so I have a short question. I was looking for samples and didn't find them. I'm working on some implementation changes for the behavior of one of the commands. And I pay attention that a certain logic about parsing flag values is not tested. And the change actually broke it. And without thorough code review, this would be missed. So my question is, what is the right way to test such a logic? Because it is done in some like internal method for the code. So should I just add a plain straightforward method for testing? I've commented, wait test go, it tests kind of it's not a unit test. It takes some integration versus a fake server, but essentially it tests the full behavior, like, but it pass the part of testing the arguments, like it works. It assumes it is already working. So it tests end to end from the moment that the correct parameters are executed and the command runs to the expected results. And I'm looking for the right way to test the first part when the command just invoked from the command line, and to the moment the command logic is executed. I hope I explained it. This explanation makes sense to you.
So basically, you have two options for how to verify this. I'm not 100% sure that I understood correctly, but the unit tests that are living in wait test.go, they will be verifying that the value that is already parsed initially by the by Cobra library, that the value is reasonable and that it makes sense, and you can either run validate or complete, doesn't matter. It will depend on what you're expecting to happen with a particular flag value in one of these methods, and then eventually run to get the expected results. But that assumes that the value that you have in the wait options structure is the one that you expected to be parsed from the user input. If on the other hand, you want to, if you want to verify the Cobra parsing because for whatever reason, there's some additional parsing requirement, whether that's Bash related or Cobra related things. For those cases, there are, it's hard to call integration tests, but they are in to a certain degree. There's a bunch of Bash-like scripts that exist under test commons directory in Kubernetes, if I remember correctly. There you'll find all those various commands which are being executed, and then there's some expectation around the output of any particular command, which are being tested against a local Kube API server. I pasted a link to specifically wait sh test, which has some preliminary testing for the wait command. So now, depending on which part you're targeting, you will want to write either the test integration command test or the unit test. But like I explained, the unit doesn't verify the Cobra parsing. So whatever you pass as a -- might flag, and there is a chance that there will be some kind of, I don't know, bash interactions or something like that. That's where you would want to put them over to the test command.
So what I'm looking for is kind of neither of these two cases. The command itself, it receives the parsing result, and then it feeds the process the received values for additional parsing of the argument's value itself. And it validates that this argument value specifically is speaking JSON condition, JSON path condition, is formed correctly. And while some of them I'm not interested to parse because, like, for example, a JSON path expression get parsed by the JSON path parser. So I'm not going to implement another test for the same method. However, there are some additional expectations, like the construct of expression equal to some value, and the behavior of this equal differs depending on how this string is provided. And this part is kind of missing. So would it be okay just to add another method into wait underscore test and to call the parsing private parsing function inside wait directly, or there is a different way that is already implemented somewhere? I don't know. I can point on a specific line in code that I want to validate if it will help to understand the context better.
I'm just looking through the code for the wait command. And if I understand correctly, you're basically the actual parsing of the JSON function in the wait, in the for condition wait, is happening in the to options method. So in the in your wait test commands, you would want to get from or manually invoke the condition func for, or directly invoke the two options.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. So that's totally fine to add an explicit test for your particular use cases. It can be either invoking two options, or you can directly invoke the condition function for, which will, and then invoke the actual condition function you're going to get. That's totally reasonable approach.
Okay, thanks. And then I can convert this from draft to the active PR, and it should trigger join the queue of for the reviewers, right? From the perspective, process perspective.
Correct.
Thank you.
Sean, you're on mute.
Whoops. So that was the extent of our agenda. And is there anything else that we would like to talk about before we get some time back this morning, or wherever you are this afternoon? Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll have another meeting in 2 weeks.
Enjoy your vacation.
Cheers.
Bye bye.